Chapter 36 The Awakened Grey Color. Surprisingly, Huo had actually stood up. Furthermore, he'd used a hoarse yet determined voice to express his wish to continue fighting. The students who'd originally thought the battle to be over immediately quieted back down and stared at Huo with stupefied gazes. They were unable to fathom what could be helping him stand back up since he'd been struck by Wu Feng's powerful attack. Was the position of class monitor this important to Huo? To Huo, whether or not he became a class monitor didn't really matter. However, his honor was something extremely important to him. He couldn't allow anyone to tarnish it. This was the reason he'd accepted Wu Feng's challenge in the first place, even though he knew he'd probably lose. It was also the same reason he was standing back up now. Wu Feng's hysteria immediately diminished the second that she saw the red glow in Huo's eyes. However, the instant that Huo's eyes turned grey, she felt as if an enormous hand had grasped hold of her neck and was strangling her. This was the first time that Wu Feng had felt dread from Huo. Regardless of how strong she actually was, she was still a young girl no older than 12. Wang Yan was also dumbfounded by Huo's current appearance. He hurriedly took a few steps back, while his heartbeat began to accelerate uncontrollably. The only explanation he could come up with for Huo's sudden change was a reason related to body souls. Thus, instead of interrupting their soul duel, he fixated his eyes on Huo's body whilst doing his best to sense the changes occurring within it. Huo had truly transformed in some way. As his eyes turned bloodshot, his heart filled with an unyielding will to fight and resentment surging throughout his body. A refreshing feeling had suddenly spread silently throughout his spiritual sea. This refreshing feeling instantly covered the entirety of his spiritual sea, causing even the sky dream ice worm to let out a bewildered cry. Grey. Huo's spiritual sea instantly turned grey. However, the dormant grey pearl that had always silently resided in his spiritual sea had vanished. The refreshing feeling quietly calmed down Huo's surging resentment and allowed Huo to quickly regain his senses. However, his eyes had turned grey due to the changes in his spiritual sea. Hatred will cloud your eyes. A wise yet clear voice rang out in Huo's spiritual sea. When it did, even the sky dream ice worm was able to clearly hear it. 10 balls of golden light simultaneously lit up in an attempt to expel the grey stream of light that had appeared. But it didn't react at all. It was as if it was incorporeal. No matter how strong the sky dream ice worm's origin power was, it didn't seem to affect the grey light. It hadn't even been scratched. You should use your spiritual power like this. Huo discovered that he'd lost all control of his body, but he could still clearly see everything that happened. Immediately afterwards, he felt his soul power boil. The mysterious heaven technique soul power, identical to his in terms of power, quantity, and intensity, had also had its control wrested from him. Afterwards, his grey spirit eyes lit up as his spiritual shock was activated again. To his astonishment, this spiritual shock moved slower than normal as it left his eyes, as if it was a viper slowly extending its tongue. At the same time, the original ball-like spiritual shock had been shrunken down to the width of a strand of hair as it gently flew towards Wu Feng. In the eyes of the spectating students, Huo's eyes had suddenly lit up and turned crystal clear, rather than the muddy grey they'd been before. The grey light in his eyes had flickered slightly, after which Wu Feng had let out a sharp cry. Wu Feng had gathered her soul power around her brain the second the feeling of dread had appeared in her heart. However, at this moment, she suddenly sensed a grey needle slowly arrive in front of her. It pierced through the layer of soul power she created, then gently tapped her brain. Wu Feng's flowing red hair flew into the air as her eyes turned grey as well. Immediately afterwards, she fell backwards with a sharp cry and directly lost consciousness. The battle had ended, but the students of Class 1 had fallen completely silent, as if their necks had been strangled just like Wu Feng's earlier. Huo's body shook slightly, and the hint of grey in his eyes slowly faded away. However, he continued to stand as straight as a ramrod. After sweeping his already normal eyes across the spectating students, he slowly left the arena without sparing a glance towards Wu Feng. Wang Yan hurriedly walked towards Wu Feng and made sure that she hadn't suffered any true injuries. However, he still decided to carry her to the infirmary. Whilst running towards the infirmary, Wang Yan felt a passionate fire ignite in his heart. Right, that was definitely the second awakening of a body soul. It must have been. Otherwise, why would his eyes suddenly change color? Why else would he be able to beat Wu Feng? Huo won. He won. This won't do. I have to find Elder Sun and have him select Huo as a core disciple. As Huo was quickly approaching the resting room, Wang Dong and Xiao had just left the arena, allowing them to bump into the grey-faced Huo. You're awesome. Xiao excitedly cried out. However, Wang Dong walked towards Huo after realizing that something was off. Huo looked deeply at Wang Dong. Afterwards, he directly collapsed onto Wang Dong's body, passed out. Moreover, his breath was scorching hot. In reality, Huo's injuries were even more serious than Wu Feng's. Wu Feng's dual soul skill augmented attack had seriously injured him. However, he forced himself to stand upright in front of all the other students. With deep breaths as he persevered, he carried himself all the way to the resting room. Wang Dong secured him tightly to his back with Xiao's help, then rushed outside with only one thought on his mind. Yuan didn't want anyone else to see him like this, so I have to fulfill his wish. He ran towards the dorms with quick strides. Only after Wang Dong had left did Xiao react. She hurriedly chased after Wang Dong, stopping only after they'd reached the dormitory area. Huo's physical body had fainted, but his consciousness had been dragged back into his spiritual sea. Moreover, he was exceptionally clear-headed. Old fella, just who are you? Why do you want to fight over territory with me? The Sky Dream Ice Worm grumbled. The grey light didn't withdraw, nor did it encroach upon the Sky Dream Ice Worm. This old man, fight with you over territory. Who do you think you are? You're just a fleshy worm. If it weren't for the fact that I currently only have a trace of my divine sense left, I'd turn you into fertilizer in mere moments. The aged voice wasn't willing to submit. The Sky Dream Ice Worm spat. Bullshit. If you think you're strong enough, come on, let's see who'll get rid of who. Don't think that this brother can't see that you only have a strand of divine sense left. You don't even have any power left. Do you really think that you can beat me in a fight by yourself? The aged voice replied disdainfully. You're right. This old man only has a strand of divine sense left. However, this old man's divine sense is on a much higher level than yours. Can you even do anything to me? Even though my divine sense has been shattered, you can't even take on this single strand of it. Think about it. If I were to gradually recover strength and memories, what would happen then? I'd crush your fleshy body, then slowly squeeze you until all of your juice had squirted out. The Sky Dream Ice Worm evidently couldn't beat the old man in a war of words. He was infuriated to the point that all 10 golden balls of light had unceasingly begun to surge with light. What happened? Huo was flabbergasted. Why had his spiritual sea become so lively in this short period of time? The aged voice spoke to him in a much warmer tone. Little fella, this old man didn't belong to your world in the beginning. I only remember that, when I was about to die, I broke through the barriers of space and entered your world with only a strand of my divine sense remaining. I don't know why that happened, but it might have been because of my overly strong soul power. When that large worm fused with you, it created intense undulations of energy that guided me towards you. Thus, my strand of divine sense entered your spiritual sea. Don't worry, I don't harbor any evil intentions. However, I'm afraid that I won't be able to leave you, even in the future. I've only been left with this single strand of divine sense, so I'm extremely weak. I need time to slowly recover all of my memories, but the resentment that appeared in your heart earlier gave me a familiar feeling that finally woke me up. I don't remember what happened in my past, but I can definitely tell you that you shouldn't let hatred cloud your eyes. Once you do something unredeemable, you'll regret it till the day you die. Furthermore, you won't be able to do anything to make up for it. Something similar seems to have happened to me in the past. Fortunately, you're still young, and you're not too strong yet. There's still time for you to gradually dispel the hatred in your heart. Huo's voice changed. You're saying that I shouldn't get my revenge? The aged voice replied indifferently. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you shouldn't take out your anger on people who don't deserve it. You can still get your revenge, but don't harm the innocent. For example, let's say that the chief of a village harms you. Would you slaughter the entire village if you were strong enough? Did those innocent villagers commit any sin? Unhappy, the Sky Dream Ice Worm cried out angrily. Oi, you as my host. He doesn't need you to teach him anything. Do you think that this brother is just air? The aged voice replied in an extremely disdainful tone. You're naturally not air. You're just a little bug. This old man's too lazy to bother with you. I'm going to continue restoring my divine sense. After saying this, his attention shifted back towards Huo. I scanned through your memories. You have too much hate built up in you. You can do as you wish and vent your hatred, but you can't let this hatred ferment. Once I've recovered enough of my divine sense, I'll do my best to help you out. Let me see what I can remember. Oh. Other than a few blurry bits and pieces, it seems that I can only remember a single phrase. My hand grasps the sun and moon and plucks the stars from the sky. This world has no one else like me. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Amidst the loud laughter, the grey light within Hua Yuao's spiritual sea receded like a tide. After a few seconds, everything around him had returned to normal, and the grey pearl had returned to its original position. My hand grasps the sun and moon and plucks the stars from the sky. This world has no one else like me. Muttering these domineering yet somewhat sorrowful words, Hua Yua couldn't help but be left stunned for a moment. The Sky Dream Ice Worm cursed in rage. Bastard, bastard. That old fella actually dared to ignore this brother. He even cursed at me. I want to kill him. I really want to kill him. Hua Yua was jolted by the Sky Dream Ice Worm's voice, and said somewhat helplessly, Brother Sky Dream, you should calm down a bit. That old mister didn't seem to have any evil intentions. The Sky Dream Ice Worm unhappily replied, What do you mean no evil intentions? Weren't you listening when he said that he wanted to crush me to death? This won't do. Yuao, you have to quickly raise your strength. He's a parasite in your spiritual sea. Thus only you can drive him out using your spiritual power. Even though his divine sense is at an extremely high level, he can't hurt you since he's a foreign object in your spiritual sea. Once your divine sense reaches his level, you'll be able to easily deal with him. Hua Yuao was somewhat helpless. Brother Sky Dream, you just said that his divine sense was at a very high level. How long do you think I'll have to cultivate in order to reach his level? Let me make a few calculations. The Sky Dream Ice Worm fell silent. Right now, Hua Yuao was extremely curious. The fact that an intelligent soul ring was in his body already allowed him to stand out from the masses, but he hadn't expected to absorb a strand of divine sense when he fused with the Sky Dream Ice Worm. This was his spiritual sea, and though he was far inferior to the Sky Dream Ice Worm and the old man, he'd clearly been able to sense everything going on in here. When that old man had spoken to him, he'd been able to sense the vicissitudes and sincerity in his voice. From that, he'd been able to tell that he truly had no intention of harming him. Furthermore, that strand of divine sense was extremely weak, so much so that it was even weaker than his spiritual power. However, was he truly as weak as he'd seemed? Hua Yua couldn't help but think of everything that had just occurred. That seemingly weak grey divine sense had taken control of his soul power, then activated the attack that had defeated Wu Feng. Even though it had been a spiritual shock, the grey light had been able to condense his spiritual power into something the thickness the strand of a piece of hair, which in turn had pierced through all of Wang Yan's defenses and defeated her without actually harming her. Was this level of control something that he was able to compare to? If he possessed this level of control over his spiritual power, the strength of his spiritual type soul skills would increase, as would the level of his soul power fusion with Wang Dong, to the point that it'd even be slightly excessive. This was true control. However, how could he increase his level of control over his spiritual power? The Sky Dream Ice Worm let out a long sigh. I've done a quick estimation. With your current cultivation speed, even if I were to wholeheartedly help you out, you'd still need around 3,000 years for your divine sense to catch up to his. What? Even though Hua Yua already a high estimation of the nameless old man, he'd mostly been trying to pacify the Sky Dream Ice Worm when he'd said that he wasn't as good as the old man. However, he never expected the Sky Dream Ice Worm, who resented the old man, to give him an answer like this. As he wasn't on good terms with the old man, it definitely couldn't be a lie. The Sky Dream Ice Worm was extremely helpless. Why else would I be powerless to do anything to a mere strand of divine sense? I don't know where that old fella came from, but his divine sense is on a much higher level than mine. He's very weak now, but the level of his divine sense has already reached a level I'm incapable of comprehending. He's already surpassed the level of all living beings on this continent. It truly seems like I can't do anything to him. Only, I don't know whether he'll have any combat strength once he's recovered. We'll see, but he shouldn't have any. His divine sense is this weak now, thus even if he does repair it, it's still just a strand. Hua Yua murmured. Then, how strong was this old mister before his divine sense shattered? The Sky Dream Ice Worm sulkily replied, a level that you can't even begin to fathom right now. Hua Yua said, Brother Sky Dream, this old man has no evil intentions, and we can't do anything to him anyway. Since that's the case, why don't we all just live together peacefully? Humph. The Sky Dream Ice Worm snorted angrily, clearly unhappy. You've made a mistake. His body soul hasn't had a second awakening. Elder Sun moved his oily hand away from Hua Yua's chest. Wang Yan asked suspiciously, that can't be. If he didn't have a second awakening, why did his spirit eyes turn grey? Furthermore, I clearly sensed a different aura from him. Even more so, he defeated a 2-ringed assault type soul master. Elder Sun, why don't we try it out again once he's woken up? After sending Wu Feng to the infirmary, Wang Yan had dismissed class 1. He then rushed over to the inner courtyard and found Elder Sun, then explained the situation of Hua Yua's possible second awakening to him. This time around, even Elder Sun had been left somewhat stunned. One of the many advantages a body soul had over other martial souls was its second awakening. A body soul that could achieve a second awakening was a peak existence among body souls. Moreover, a body soul that achieved a second awakening would immediately reach a new level. Because of this, he'd hastily followed Wang Yan to Hua Yua and Wang Dong's dormitory in order to see Hua Yua's condition for himself. Somewhat impatient, Elder Sun replied, there's no need to bother, little Wang. I know you've been studying body souls, but you can't be content with such a shallow understanding, do you? Even know what happens when a body soul achieves its second awakening? He hasn't even reached the most basic level of a second awakening. His soul power is still rank 17, meaning that it hasn't changed at all. If he truly had a second awakening, his soul power would have reached the bottleneck of rank 20 at the very least. This kid can be considered to be quite talented, but he's still too old. He won't reach rank 30 by the age of 12, so there's still a gap between him and the most outstanding students amongst the freshmen. In the future, don't waste my time with him. With that, he drank a mouthful of wine and left. With a downcast look on his face, Wang Yan told Wang Dong to take care of Hua Yuao, then proceeded to leave as well. It was already late into the night when Hua Yuao woke. The pain in his body had already diminished by a large amount. Moreover, Wang Yan had also brought some healing medicine over. His injuries weren't light, but his bones and internal organs hadn't been injured. With the help of Shrek Academy's top-ranked medicines, his injuries weren't much of a problem. What a soft and warm feeling. To his astonishment, Hua Yuao discovered that he was sleeping soundly atop Wang Dong's bed. On the other hand, Wang Dong was soundly asleep with his upper body leaning on the bed. This wasn't the first time that Hua Yuao had been on Wang Dong's bed, but it was the first time he'd slept there. Hua Yuao was greatly touched by Wang Dong's actions. He clearly understood how misophobic Wang Dong was. Normally, Wang Dong wouldn't even let him sit atop his bed. Yet, he'd actually allowed him to sleep on his bed, despite his body being covered in dust from the soul jewel. After quietly getting up from the bed, he carefully picked Wang Dong up and placed him on the bed. Turning his head, he glanced towards his wooden bed that didn't even have a mattress. He gently placed Wang Dong on the fur-coated mattress and shuffled him around before lying down next to him. The two of them were slightly cramped, being together on the same bed, but they were still kids. They weren't as fat as Yu, so squeezing together was still possible, though only barely. Hua Yuao then pulled the cover over both of them. With a warm feeling in his heart, he fell asleep again. It had been a long time since he had such a relaxing night of sleep without cultivating. At that moment, he completely relaxed from the various emotions he'd experienced during the day. Morning. The sky outside slowly brightened. As Wang Dong slowly woke up from his sleep, he slowly came back to his senses with his eyes still closed. How comfortable. What a nice sleep I had. After being dragged along by that fella to cultivate every night, it's been such a long time since I've had such a nice night of sleep. It feels so nice to snuggle this warm and cozy pillow, and to sleep so soundly. Holding this pillow is so warm. Nice. Filled with contentment, Wang Dong nearly fell back asleep. Suddenly, his mind shook, remembering something. That's not right. Hua Yuao was injured yesterday, so I should have been taking care of him. How did I manage to sleep so comfortably? Remembering the injured Hua Yuao, Wang Dong immediately woke up and opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the shape of a face. Soundly asleep, Hua Yuao's cheeks were ruddy under the morning sunlight. A strong aura of warmth slowly emanated off of him. Wang Dong was thoroughly stunned. He discovered that his head was currently leaning against that person's shoulder. His arm, on the other hand, was latched onto his chest, and it was even gripped tightly. His thigh was over that person's leg, and he'd even hooked his heel onto his outer thigh in order to prevent himself from falling. Was this a body pillow? His mind turned blank. 3, 2, 1. Ah, an ear-piercing screech suddenly rang out through the first-year dorms. This screech was simply too loud. Even though the dorm rooms had extremely good soundproofing, it instantly jolted a large amount of first years who were cultivating or sleeping awake. Aya, you're gonna make me fall to death. Humans were always defenseless when they were asleep, and Huo Yua was no exception to this. He'd been sleeping very soundly, and he'd only felt a warm, soft pillow that released a fresh odor sticking to him. With the soft yet thick fur-coated mattress he'd slept on, he'd slept very soundly. Normally, he'd already be awake in order to cultivate the purple demon eyes. However, he'd slept especially soundly today. However, he suddenly felt like he'd soared into the sky. The originally warm feeling he'd had suddenly became chilly. Immediately afterwards, put on. The warm sensation that Huo Yua had felt from the blanket suddenly turned into that of the cold, hard floor as he was shoved out of the bed. He hit the corner of his bed followed by the ground. The soundly sleeping Huo Yua only felt the world suddenly invert as he fell to the ground, confused, and let out a yell. However, his yell was drowned out by Wang Dong's sharp screech. As he woke up, he felt a cold shiver run up his spine. He looked up, only to see Wang Dong, his blanket tightly clutched against his chest, glaring at him with a vicious light in his eyes. His large eyes seemed almost like they could spew fire, just like Wu Feng yesterday. What are you doing? Huo Yua massaged his sore chest as he got up from the floor. Wang Dong's chilly voice seemed to be forced through the gaps in his teeth as he enunciated each word he said. Why were you sleeping in my bed? Huo Yua stared blankly. He immediately realized what had gone wrong. Clearly, Wang Dong hadn't been willing to sleep together with him. However, his good sleep from the previous night had caused his mind to be especially clear. Ah. How would I know? Wasn't I fighting with Wu Feng yesterday? The only thing I remember after that is being kicked awake by you. Ah. Wang Dong was left flabbergasted at this as well. Right. Huo Yua had fainted after his match with Wu Feng, and had continued to sleep all the way until now. Why'd I end up in your bed in the first place? Huo Yua looked at Wang Dong, a dumbstruck expression on his face. Wang Dong's expression reddened, and he sulkily said, naturally, because of my good intentions. I was worried that you'd catch a cold since you were injured. Huo Yua rolled his eyes. Then why did you kick me out of it? Wang Dong hadn't expected Huo Yua to blame him. However, he truly wasn't clear as to what had happened. The only thing he remembered doing yesterday was looking after Huo Yua. After that, he'd gotten tired as well, then had fallen asleep. However, he didn't remember climbing into his bed. Furthermore, he'd even gone under the blanket and hugged Huo Yua. This was simply too embarrassing. Huo Yua humped and turned to look at the sky outside. Ignoring Wang Dong, he opened the window. It was just about time for him to begin cultivating the purple demon eyes for the day. Wang Dong grew increasingly bewildered as he sat up on his bed. Did I subconsciously climb up into my bed and go to sleep after I got tired? This seemed to be the only logical explanation to Wang Dong. That kick was quite hard. Is he really okay? After thinking to this point, he jumped off the bed. Somewhat embarrassed, he said, Yuao, sorry. I forgot that you were sleeping in my bed last night when I woke up. You know how misophobic I am. When I saw that there was someone next to me when I got up, I subconsciously. Please don't be angry. Does your injury still hurt? Huo Yua didn't utter a word in response. Instead, his gaze was fixed on a distant patch of white in the eastern sky. He took a deep breath, then exhaled slowly. Because of this, Wang Dong was under the impression that Huo Yua was truly angry. He silently stood in the corner and waiting for Huo Yua to finish cultivating the purple demon eyes. Though he had already entered the Tang sect, he hadn't yet begun cultivating the Tang sect's secret techniques alongside Huo Yua. After finishing his cultivation of the purple demon eyes, a purple glow briefly surged through Huo Yua's eyes as he stood up. Of all the techniques he was currently cultivating, the one that he improved the most in was definitely the purple demon eyes. His progress in it was comparable to traversing 1,000 miles in a single day. His spirit eyes and the purple demon eyes complemented each other extremely well, which allowed him to improve a large amount every day. This had held even truer ever since he'd entered the totality realm of the purple demon eyes. Because of this, his four-soul skill strength had also increased along with the purple demon eyes. This was the main reason why the distance, precision, and judgment of his spiritual detection had improved so quickly. What? You still aren't showering yet? Huo Yua walked outside unhappily. Yuao, don't be angry. I really didn't do it on purpose. Wang Dong said, a pitiful expression on his face. Huo Yua was inwardly joyous, but he put on a magnanimous appearance and said, whatever, it's not like it's the first time I've experienced this bad habit of yours. You call yourself a guy, but why do you have to be so clean? You even have that sweet smell on you. Look, where you kicked me doesn't hurt anymore. Quickly shower. We'll cultivate for a while after we eat breakfast since we wasted last night's cultivation time. The issue had smoothly been swept away because of Huo Yua's words. After the two showered, they put on a set of clean uniforms, then ate breakfast. After becoming a core disciple, one would receive a badge specially meant for core disciples. The badge was dark green and had a golden border. Even though Huo Yua was currently only able to enjoy the treatment of a core disciple, he'd still been given a badge. Only, he had to return the badge once the school year had ended. With the core disciple badge, they were treated completely different within the academy. As an example, they were able to eat the best type of food in the canteen. The nourishment and nutrition provided by this food was guaranteed, and even provided a certain amount of help towards their cultivations. The two of them ate a hearty meal, then returned to their dorm room to cultivate for a while. Afterwards, they headed towards class 1. There were already quite a few people already in the classroom by the time they arrived. However, the entire classroom instantly turned silent when the two of them entered. Everyone present's gaze had instantly focused on Huo Yua, who acted as if nothing had happened. In turn, Huo Yua's gaze was aimed towards Wu Feng's seat. However, Wu Feng hadn't shown up yet. He calmly walked toward his seat alongside Wang Dong and sat down. Afterward, he discovered that a trace of reverence was now present within the gazes of many of the students looking towards him. The facts had already presented themselves. Yesterday's fight had shaken practically all of the students. Even Dai Huabin hadn't been an exception. Of the 4 classes within Year 1, Class 1 had the highest level of strength. In turn, the strongest students within Class 1 would naturally be the core disciples. The person that Huo Yua had defeated was a core disciple. In other words, his strength was comparable to a core disciple's, at the very least. Moreover, he was still only a 1-ring soul master. What if he became a 2-ring soul grandmaster? Advancing from the 1-ringed rank to the 2-ringed rank was much easier than from the 2-ringed to the 3-ringed rank. At that time, wouldn't he be even stronger? The students who previously looked down on his 10-year soul ring had become much more well-behaved today. At the very least, no one had looks of disdain present in their eyes as they looked towards him. Huo Yua had wanted an effect just like this. Even if he'd lost yesterday, he still would have been able to awe a large number of students by injuring Wu Feng to such a degree. He wanted to study in Shrek Academy for at least 6 years, hopefully even more. If everyone held him in contempt, his mental state would definitely be affected. If that happened, how would he even cultivate with peace of mind? The class bell rang, and the two teachers, Wang Yan and Zhou Yi, walked in just in time for class to start. Zhou Yi's aged face seemed very serene, but her gaze was as sharp as a blade as she coldly swept it across the class. The students who were originally from the other classes didn't think much of it, but the original students of class 1 inwardly shuddered. They knew that this perverted old grandma was about to show her authority. The facts proved to be just as they predicted. When Wang Yan had told Zhou Yi about the previous day's incident, he'd been showered with a barrage of reprimands. Wang Yan's status within the academy was higher than Zhou Yi's, yet she didn't seem to care at all. After she'd finished cursing at Wang Yan, she personally left to check up on the bedridden Huo Yua, and only left after verifying that he was fine. However, Huo Yua had still been asleep at the time. Wang Yan stood next to the classroom's entrance, but didn't walk towards the podium. Zhou Yi walked towards the podium by herself. She swept her cold gaze across the entire classroom, which caused even the students that were unfamiliar with her to quiet down underneath her sharp gaze. Wang Yan had never held a class together with Zhou Yi. Rather, he'd only heard of her style of teaching in passing. After being scolded by her yesterday, he'd been inwardly annoyed. He thought to himself, I want to see how you'll take care of these students, who are all chosen. Everyone, stand up. Zhou Yu shouted coldly, as if their heated iron had suddenly been placed in their chairs. The original students of Class 1 instantly stood up. The other students stood up as well, some of them quickly, some of them slowly. In their opinion, this old lady wasn't as large of a deterrent as Wang Yan. Even Wang Yan had been forced to agree to Wu Feng's suggestion after being pressured by her yesterday. Just what could this old lady do to them? Zhou Yu icily said, very good. There are a total of 67 students within this class. While one person hasn't arrived yet, 36 of you stood up as soon as I ordered you to, while the other 30 or so students procrastinated. If I call your name, stand in the corridor as punishment. Huang Chuchen. The first person she called out was Huang Chuchen, who was also currently receiving the treatment of a core disciple like Huo Yuao. Huang Chuchen was flabbergasted. He laughed. Teacher Zhou, you don't need to be this serious. Isn't it just standing up a bit late? Zhou Yu didn't bother with any superfluous words. With a flash, she appeared in front of Huang Chuchen and grabbed a hold of his collar. Afterwards, she directly flung him out a window. Other than a brief shriek that rang out from outside the window, Huang Chuchen's voice would no longer be heard. Not only were the students flabbergasted, even Wang Yan himself was astonished by Zhou Yu's actions. Zhou Yu continued coldly, Yi Yulin, Ulin, Tang Xiaoxiao, Oyan Heya. The other 30 students who'd stood up late were all quickly called out. After learning from Huang Chuchen's mistake, nobody dared to object to Zhou Yu's actions. The offending students obediently left the classroom. One look at the 6 flickering soul rings around Zhou Yu's body being all they needed to know how little of a chance they had. Zhou Yu indifferently said, I'll now announce 2 pieces of information. Number 1, I'll be choosing the class monitors of the class. The monitor from the assault system will be Wang Dong, and the monitor from the control system will be Huo Yuao. Number 2, from today onwards, anyone who dares to question a teacher's decisions will directly be expelled. Teacher Zhou, wasn't the class monitor supposed to be elected? Dai Huobin suddenly asked. Zhou Yu looked at him coldly. I just said that anyone who dares to question a teacher will be expelled. Since you're a core disciple, I'm unable to expel you. However, I will request that the academy transfer you out of class 1. Dai Huobin, stand up and leave this class. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.